Well, good afternoon. We are privileged to be with Hema Heimuli, who is a member of our chamber family, and most specifically has led a special initiative for the chamber. We're going to spend a few minutes today talking about that initiative, getting to know him better, and understanding the company that he works for, US Synthetics, and the mission that they have and the alignment that they bring to enable this valley to be one of the best places to live, work, learn, and play. Can you give us an example of 2 or 3 characteristics that create a winning organization or a winning team?
Very good. Creating the right environment. Mm-hmm. I like to use the example of the parable of the sower, right?
Yeah.
You talk about when you put seeds in this kind of environment, you put seeds in this type of environment, you know, the weeds was one environment, the grassy or really good soil, right? To me, it's very important. That's culture. So if you put a seed in different cultures, the seed's not going to grow. Meaning the person, the individual, the employees, they're not going to grow and develop and become great unless you put them in the perfect and right environment. And so for me, that's why leadership is so critical. Yeah. Leadership's role is to create that environment, to create that culture. If you create and empower your people, and it's critical that we also understand empowerment is not entitlement. Opportunities for people to grow and develop is different than just giving. Right.
What are you mentoring now? What organizations, what teams, what's your project right now that you've got your arms around? Yeah. We'll get to the chamber in a minute, but in your professional life, what is it that you are lifting and organizing and creating an environment, a culture today?
Great. The Great Resignation, right? Okay. I forgot who coined that phrase, but people are just leaving their jobs, right? So that's a problem we're trying to dig in, like you asked, and that's one that we're trying to understand exactly why are people leaving. What is it that we need to do to adjust and change so that people don't leave? The one thing that I do know is that the environment is different now. Even just 2 years ago, it's not the same business anymore. So we have to adapt and change as leaders, as HR, as organizational behavior people. We got to make sure that we adapt along to make sure we create the right environment for people to win.
In my experience, I've seen employees and employers meet in the middle where they say, hey, what matters to you is going to matter to us. Yeah. What is it that matters? But there needs to be some camaraderie that takes place in an office environment that allows that teamwork to be elevated. I think, and at least in the chamber's experience, there are moments when we're together, we're stronger than when we're separate. Yeah. Having purpose behind a mission and a vision for what a company does, it's more than just revenue anymore. It's not enough, is it, for them to stay? Oh yeah. So what are some of those features that you have found need to be a part of a culture? Yeah. What are they looking for? What's the what is it that they're trying to check off in order to feel that connection with the mission of their employer?
Great question. That's one of the reasons why I love US Synthetic. Their number one vision is to improve lives. I remember one individual, he was struggling with alcoholism, right? And his team lead would meet with him, and they created this problem-solving, we call it A3, and A3 basically is you kind of tell the story, you create your problem statement, and then you go about developing a way to close the gap between where you're at and what you're trying to do. And so they went through this whole process, and at the end of the day, he had gone for years without participating in that activity. Improving lives is what it's all about, right?
Yeah. How long have you been in the professional life now? Have you been
22 years.
22 years. Yeah. And so in 22 years, you and I have seen a lot, but we've seen an emphasis, and I think rightfully so, for at least a conversation to be had to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yeah. Give us some of your thoughts about that, what you've seen in your years and the shift in the last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. That's a loaded. Yeah. But unfortunately, as we know about culture, there are beliefs and mental models of leaders that's developed over the many years and have been fanned and nourished over the years where they think my way is the right way. It's worked all these years, right? And so, number one, that's the biggest obstacle that I see is that leaders have won all these years and have been successful. Now you're going to say, oh, no. Yeah. Please understand, I'm trying to help you win. Right. And for them to say, sorry, I'm okay. Think about a football team, right? The only way they're successful if they utilize every member of the team, right? The only way they're successful if they can maximize the potential of their individuals.
Do you believe that businesses that spend some time investing in this, exploring what it would mean for them and how it would strengthen their organizations, do you think they could actually realize a difference to the bottom line? I mean, could it be impactful to the revenue engine of their business?
And to answer your question, yes, and yes, and yes.
Because you probably have, several dozen people that report up into you. I'm just guessing.
We figured out that the way for us to learn faster than anybody else is to push the power to where the work happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not where the leaders are at an office somewhere in the corner or whatever. The idea of making sure that the people who are doing the jobs have the power and they know that it's okay for them to say, you know what, this doesn't seem right. This is not the way it should be. I'm going to make this adjustment, and go ahead, make that adjustment. So that is the type of activities, leadership, and culture that you need to create so that people are learning faster. You know?
So you're 22 years into your professional career. In my opinion, humble opinion as it is, you're as fluent as you are going to be. You are at probably the most effective with the tools, the knowledge, the people, the relationships that you have. What do you have left undone, Hema? What are some things that are still out there for you? Tell me, what's left undone for you?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yes, a book is, I feel, and it's not for me, it's because of the way I've lived my life. And as you know, we have a family mission or a vision statement, and that is to magnify our talents in order to help many. The next step is for me to do more, to have more opportunities to help those that can't help themselves. And you calling me was one of those tender mercies, if you will, where you said, Hema, it's time for you to come and serve, right? And you gave me that kick, and you know, that was a blessing, at least for me, to say, okay, it's time for me to go and do what our vision is as a family, and go on and so forth. But I think there needs to be more than what I am as far as what my work looks like. I think I can give more so that those that are less fortunate can have opportunities to understand how they need to shape and organize their world, their life, their organization, so they can succeed. You know.
Sounds like to me that's part of your DNA. It sounds like that's part of the culture, that wherever you go, you're tilling the soil, so that's the artifacts that come from that preparation. I so appreciate that. Well, thank you for the minutes today. We so appreciate you sharing with us your perspectives, your thoughts about Utah Valley, about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and about the company that you are helping build. If there were one piece of advice that you might give a business that is here, that's on the cusp of doing great things, what advice would you give he or she as the leader of their company?
Create a learning organization by making sure that your people feel safe to experiment, to problem solve, and to become the best they can be.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
With that, I don't think there's a better way to close. Hema, thank you for your minutes today. Appreciate your emotional investment in the chamber, the thought leadership that you bring, and that culture from the Heimuli family, both to U.S. Synthetic and the Chamber family. We appreciate you and love you like a brother. Thank you so much.
I need a hug.
All right, you got it.
Thank you, my friend.